Okay, hello. Trying a live thing instead of doing a video. So I wanted to do a VR to Saturnarium and also April from Tarot and Witchery and Ricardo from Astro Boy Tarot. With regards to the first one that was started by Saturnarium, and that was Tarot Quirks. So I'm trying to do this on a tablet and I have no idea where to look. And I don't know where the comments go on this thing. So I'm just going to play for a second to see what happens. Nope. Let's try this one. So I don't know if I can see chat. Excellent. It says all messages are now visible, but not to me. Okay. Well then, without much further ado, I shall go through and start with some of the list of my tarot quirks. So number one is about jumpers. So when you are, or when I am shuffling, if a jumper comes out, I take it. I always read the jumpers, I don't ignore them, and I don't put them aside for additions to my reading. So if a jumper comes out, it's part of my reading, that's the card that's going down as my focus for that question or whatever it is that I'm doing. And I know that not everyone does that. Some people will put them back in the deck because they think they're just shuffling clumsily. Don't get me wrong, I sometimes shuffle very clumsily and I'll get 3 or 4 come out, but I'll still take those cards and I'll put them in my reading. And then I'll continue to shuffle and pull out the rest of my cards for the spread that I'm using. So that's my quirk number one, is the I will read the jumpers. Number 2 is the shuffling quirks. And I know this one, there are many for many people. Mine are quite straightforward and quite simple. I shuffle overhand. I don't bridge ever. So I'll shuffle overhand for just about everything. If it's a big deck, then I will shuffle it lengthways in my hands and I'll shuffle this way. I don't shuffle particularly quickly. I do it in a sort of mindful, ritualistic manner. So I like to think while I'm focusing and shuffling. And the only type of riffle shuffle you'll ever catch me do, which I can't do on screen because I haven't got a table in front of me, is I will take the corners there and I will riffle those and then I'll shuffle my deck together. So that is the only kind of rough shuffling that I do to my decks. I like to keep them all in order. And while I'm shuffling, normally I'll take a ring. If I'm wearing rings, I'll take my rings off so that I don't damage the sides too much because they get bashed up when you've got too many bits of jewellery on. So that is my quirk number 2. Quirk number 3 is my ritual for breaking in a new deck. Now I am starting to break this one up, so I'm trying not to have it be such a thing. And I would normally take a deck and I'll take it outside when I get a new deck. Before I touch it or do anything really with it, I'll open it up, I'll take it outside, I'll show the box to the sun, and then I will show every single card to the sun to get the energy of the sunshine through it and to give it that fiery energy and spirit attachment. And then I'll do the same for the back, so I'll take every single back and I will show them to the sun, and I have a little saying that I'll say while I'm doing that, and I will go through my entire deck that way, and I won't work with it until that's been done. And depending on whether we have a moon cycle coming up, if it's close to a moon cycle, I'll do the sunshine first, then I will put it on the windowsill with the box and all, and I put my cards sideways because I feel like the moon can get to more cards that way rather than trying to beam through the middle of the deck. So I put them on the side with their box so that the box gets imbued and then every card gets some sunlight on them. And that's what I do to, I suppose you call that bless. That's the blessing of my deck. But that's something I'm trying really hard to not do at the moment, and just see if I can pick up a deck, put my energy into it and just use it without having to go through these things. So quirk number 4 for me is the monthly rotations of my decks. So if you watch my monthly videos, you'll notice that I swap them in and out quite a bit. So every month I will put in 2 or 3 new decks, which I will use for my monthly readings and my spreads. And then the other ones I'll retire and I'll put away. And that's just something I do, and I like to do that because I feel that it gives me time to work with the decks like in a long period, so I'm not limited to when I'm using them. And then when I am using my decks, regardless of what's going on, I will normally store them back in their box. So I'll put them back in their box and get them out every single time I want to use them to do a reading, and even the daily ones. So the daily decks will go back in their box and come out the next morning. And the quirk that goes with that one is because I don't want any other energy from the room going into the cards. So I feel like the box is its protector. I don't know if that's true, but that's my personal thing. Even if there's a bag, there'll be the box in the bag. And I don't use crystals, actually. I know many people would use crystals to protect their cards for that, but I tend to not use the crystals. Although I have an abundance, a ridiculous number of crystals, I don't use them for protecting my decks. When I do a reading, so quirk number 5 for me. So when I do a reading, if I've had, you know, say this was my card, or let's make it a bit more obvious. So if I have 3 cards in my reading, I don't put them together in the deck or on the bottom of the deck or in the middle of the deck ever, because what happens is if you shuffle, chances are those 3 cards will come out again, time and time again, in the same order. And to me, that's not synchronicity, bad shuffling. So sorry, I think I've just lost a bit of signal. So what I do is I put them back into my deck in random order, and then I put them away. And sometimes I'll even shuffle that deck back up and then I'll put them away. But yeah, so that's my other weird kind of quirk about how I put my cards away back in the deck. Quirk number 6, I always do pretty much, I would say, out of 365 days a year, I probably do 340, 345 morning card pulls. So I probably only miss maybe 20 throughout the year because of whatever reason. I'm too busy, or, you know, things have been a bit strained and I haven't had time to get to them. So that's my other kind of, that's my personal weird quirk for tarot. And I usually pretty much will always do a week ahead spread. If I don't do anything else, I'll probably do the week ahead spread out of all the spreads that I choose and that I show in my reflections journals. So if I miss the moons, I'm not really that bothered, but as long as I get my weekly or week ahead, I don't have to do my week's reflection, looking back on my week, but I definitely have to do the week ahead and my morning draws. And that's my personal kind of quirk. Quirk number 7, only allowed to touch my cards if I invite you. So that will be me physically handing my deck over to you into your hands and saying, yeah, you can look through them, you can touch them, and that'll be for more than just a split the deck for a reading. In fact, I don't know that I'd let you split my deck for a reading if you're a complete stranger to me. So if I know you, I will probably offer you up my cards and say, yeah, have a look at my new deck. Careful with the wording. So my personal quirk as a content creator for my channel is that when I get new decks, I have a habit of not touching them or opening them, or I'll open and get the cellophane off and then I won't touch them. I won't take them out of order. I might show them to the sun and things, but I won't take them out of order until I've done a walkthrough of the deck. And I kind of realised that well, it meant that my decks weren't getting used as fast as I wanted to. And then I might be over them by the time I do get around to using them. You know, the next new shiny object's arrived and I'm using that. So what I'm trying to do is, this is another one that I'm trying to break along with my moon and sun rituals, is to open the deck and use it. Whether I do a walkthrough or not, just open it up, give it a go and play with it. And then when I do a walkthrough, the whole, it must be in order and it must be this and it must be that. Some of them I'll just show you now out of order because I don't really think it matters. As long as you get to see the cards, it doesn't matter if it comes in order or not, for me personally. And I don't mind when I'm looking at other people's walkthroughs, whether they're in order. So quirk number 9, aesthetic. So my aesthetic might be a little bit different from the general mainstream aesthetic of tarot decks. So I like the Dark Mansion. I love Patrick Valence's artwork, the Trompe de la Lunas, the Deviant Moons. Let's find something that's not going to be offensive to the camera. I like skulls and things. Probably things I didn't realise I liked before I started. I like brightly coloured artwork. And I like to have a range. So yeah, so my personal quirk is perhaps that some of the decks that I use for every day are ones that other people will use for specifically a genre of work. And what we're talking about here is shadow work. And I would like to encourage you all to use your decks for everything and anything, and it doesn't matter what the artwork is. So I've got a kind of like selection of decks here just to show that these are all everyday decks that I would use. So please do go ahead and get them out. Quirk number 10. When I started reading, I keep losing my signal, sorry. Because when I started reading for others, I would only read the silent questions. So I didn't want to know what they wanted to know. I would get them to think it. I would lay out my cards and then I would tell them about their question and what they were thinking. And that was how I started reading for other people. I don't do that so much now. Now most people want to ask a question or they have a topic in mind when I do cards, and it's been a while since I've done like a full spread read for somebody. But as in 1 or 2 quick cards, 1 or 2 card reads, then I'll do just pick a subject and we'll, love, finance, career, those sorts of things. And then I'll just do the quick read on those. Quirk number 11. If I'm doing a spread for somebody, I write. So a bit like you see people doing automatic writing. It's not, I don't know, I wouldn't call it automatic writing, but I like to write things down. So when I'm doing a spread for somebody, I'll write stuff down and I'll make notes, and I'll, just to, probably so I don't forget it, because my brain runs so fast a lot of the time that I like to write it down, and then I can come back to it and see what's going on. So that's one of my other quirks when I'm reading. Quirk number 12, I will always use the bottom of the deck. So I will always check the bottom of the deck to see what the card is at the bottom, and my significator card for the reading after I've laid out and dealt with. I do it afterwards because I change up how I shuffle and how I deal, depending on how I'm feeling the mood is taking me. So sometimes I'll just take off the top. Sometimes I'll do like every couple and I'll put some down and I'll shuffle through my deck and I'll put another one down, and I'll just keep going like that until I've got the card that I want in hand. And then once I've got all my cards out, I'll check the card at the bottom, and then that one becomes my significator. Sometimes I'll fan them out and I'll like pull my cards out, and depending on where my hands are drawn. And other times, yeah, it just really does depend on what's going on. If I split the deck, again, that's not always so I take all the cards off the top. It's sometimes the one on the bottom that feels that it wants to be pulled out, so I'll take the bottom one. And yeah, that's just a weird thing. So my how I take the cards out is how I feel in the moment for my spreads and draws. Reading for others, the ritual of reading for others. So when I'm reading for other people, I will always have a candle of some sort burning nearby. Usually a tea light, to be fair, because they're easiest and quickest to light, and they're small and they don't take up much room on the table. So I usually always have a tea light to hand. I will always have some kind of cleansing bundle to smoke cleanse my area, the room. I usually have some, I currently have these like little cedarwood thins for lighting everything around me, like all my candles, and then to, light this when I'm working. But my tea lights are normally plain white. Everything else can be fancy, but my tea lights are always plain white. Don't know why, just is. And when I'm reading for other people, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I tend to knock the deck, because somebody once told me that changes the energy of the deck, or knocks out the old energy and puts new energy in, or clears the energy, whatever it is. But it's sort of stuck. And if I'm doing like multiple readings, I will knock the deck in between readings. Can't explain it. But if I'm reading for myself, I'll just pick out my cards, take them out of the box, shuffle, throw them down and go. There is none of this happens when I'm reading for myself. So I can't explain that to you. I can't tell you. Number 14, tarot tube. Tarot tube. Way too much of my life is spent on tarot tube. Watching other people's content, their creations, their joining in the conversations, you know, just the community. And I think that's something we'd all say we're probably all guilty of. But I like to do that. So I like to see what everyone's up to. I like to join in the lives, have a laugh and joke, because you don't get this sort of community outside in normal daily life. I don't think I could walk into a cafe and sit down with 20 random people and talk about tarot. And then there's also, with that, it brings that FOMO though, because everyone's showing their decks. I do like to see what decks people are using, but the FOMO does come in there with that. So there's a VR I need to do to that one, the FOMO, and that'll be to April when I get there, hopefully this week, you never know. So I need to talk about that one. And then I have a quirk number 15. So we're getting there, nearly done. I rarely segregate my decks into categories. I've only got a couple here in the room with me. So some people have set categories. For instance, we have the Hush Tarot. Now I know that people use that one for shadow work because they find the artwork kind of jarring or a bit dark. I think it's actually quite beautifully done. I think the artist has done an amazing job with these. But this one, although you could read it normally, you would need to use your intuition to interpret your pictures and find your way of connecting to the pictures. I do find this particular deck has a guidebook which is geared to pulling on your inner depths, and for that reason, so if the guidebook specifically heads in that direction and really helps to prompt and provoke some of the deeper meanings and thoughts of the conversation, then I will use them or spend some time with the guidebook, and I'll use them for that type of reading. But I'll still pull them out and use them for every other day readings as well. And I know, like for instance, this one, the Black Line Tarot, people feel, because it's got skulls in it, it's a bit dark and a bit sort of scary. I don't know. I think it's really nicely drawn, simple deck. And yeah, so I like that one. Yeah, so that's number 15. Quirk number 16, extra cards. I have this weird thing. I don't get rid of the extra cards. So for instance, with my tarot in a tin, the extra cards are tucked into the back of the guidebook. There. And then they go into my tin. It's not the only one, by the way. So this deck, Tronchi de la Luna, for instance, came with, I think there were 8 devils in total in this card, plus some alternatives. And they are all inside the box with a paper clip to hold them in place. And because that paper clip and that set of cards hides the tuck at the bottom. Whether that's the reason, I don't know, but yeah, I never get rid of the extra cards that come with the decks. It's almost like a sentimental thing, you know? Weird. That's a weird one. Everyone else takes them out so they don't shuffle them in. Not me. So that's my extra cards. And then number 17, the backs. I have purchased decks specifically for the backs. I am known to do this because I have to look at those when I'm shuffling. When I'm shuffling, I see the backs, and I want to, while I'm focusing, I want something pretty, aesthetically pleasing to look at. I have been known to not purchase decks because I don't like the backs as well. So like these ones are really nice backs. Like, how pretty is that to look at while you're shuffling? Again, with the Hush Tarot, really nice, simple backs. Even when they are a bit plain, I like them to be fiery as well. So the backs on that one, that's the Tarot Nuages. And that one. So they're simple backs, but they're still pretty. They're not just, I'm talking about that particular deck with the plaid, the tartan backs. I just don't like them. So yeah, backs. So yeah, I like the backs to be pretty. That's it. And I have, like I say, I have sought out a deck specifically based on the back, and this one in particular, I didn't know what the cards were, what the artist was like. I saw the backs and I really, really wanted that deck. And that is, of course, the Dark Mansion. And this is the second edition, I think. These are the rose petal finish cards with the black edges. But yeah, so those are my tarot quirks in response to Saturnarium, and I have added some which I got from, as I said at the beginning, so some from April at Tarot and Witchery and some from Ricardo at Astro Boy Tarot. And yeah, that's me. So if you've got any tarot quirks that you want to add to this conversation, please do join in, and I will see you again in the next VR. Thank you for watching. Now all I've got to do is work out how we stop this. There we go. Bye bye.